Hi guys, it's Clarice and welcome to the Patreon Live for the month of March. Today we are doing more florals and I hope you guys are excited for those who are catching this after the live. Really quickly, I'm going to run through the items that I'm going to be using, my supplies. For those who've been keeping track of my stories on Instagram, I got a new stash of brushes from Princeton, the Neptune collection. So I'll give these guys a go. So I'm going to try the Quill number 4, the number 6 round, and I already have a number 8 by them. And last but not least, let's also try the number 4 script brush, which also comes in that collection. Alright, so just getting these ready. For my paper, I am using the Etchr Sketchbook, Coldpress, and what else? For colors, I'm using my White Nights, as per usual, and then I have my palette by Lisi Arts here. And yep, that's it. So we are ready to begin, and I'm just going to zoom in so you can have a better view of my sheet here, and then we will begin. Alright, so today's floral piece that we're doing has some beautiful oranges and pinks and peaches, kind of going with the theme that we've been doing for the past week or so. And so we're going to start mixing some colors. I will use, I'm thinking about using the Quill, but the Quill is so big. So I think I will use my number 8 to mix some colors, and then as and when I need some stuff, I'll kind of just dip in with the brush I'm going to be using. So I'll start off by using my Carmine first. Carmine. And then, let's see, I want to definitely want to use, for the orange, let's use some golden, or let's use Golden Deep actually. Got that. Washing this off quickly. And I'm going to get some Golden Deep. Golden Deep is right here on this side. So these are going to be nice bright florals, and we are going to mix this or give it some good contrast by using some sepia. So I'm looking forward to that. So we've got this. I also want to mix just a tad bit of violet so we can sort of mix that in with some of the pink and get like a different hue. I'm just going to leave that there. And for greens, I think it's safe to say we can use some either chromium oxide or a mixture of umber and your yellowish green should give you something nice. So there we go, there's that umber. Umber's like my favorite go-to. Let's get some of that yellowish green. Mix that on here. So now we've got like a decent palette happening. And sepia I'll just take directly from the color cake when I need it. Okay, so we are now ready to begin. I am going to start off by doing my main florals as per usual. You guys know how that works. So we'll do 2 pink Carmine florals over here, like one at the top, one slightly below, and then we'll immediately go in and get some nice peachy, yellowy tones. I will be mixing some of the white in with the orange to get like a lighter tone. But yes, so what I'll do is I will use my number 8 for darker tones, and then I'll use the Quill to kind of lay down some nice wash of color before we kind of go in and get some darker tones. Alright, wish me luck. This is my first time trying these brushes. I'm trying it with you guys. Alright, so I'm getting some of that carmine on my quill, and we're gonna go ahead and start painting something like a opened up rose. So it's got a center and then the petals are kind of outward. So I'm going to start off by painting that one here. And notice the white space that I'm leaving. And then these are the open petals. I get a little bit more of that on the tip of my brush and just kind of lightly touch it around there. Just adding another open petal at the top. A couple more at the bottom here. Adding some petals onto the side of this, drawing some water into it. Some of the paint that I've kind of laid down into it. That's good enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually before I get any more, I'm going to go ahead and add another one at the top here. So for this one, this flower is kind of facing upward in that direction. I'm just going to give it some nice fluffy petals all around. So this is the center cup. And then these are the petals kind of fanning around it. And now immediately I'm going in with this brush. I'm going to get some of that color directly from my palette, my carmine. And I'm going to right away, I just took a dip of that purple on the brush as well, and I'm just going in and adding the center at the top here while it's still damp, and then adding some darker hues at the bottom here so that it's a stark difference between the petals. I'm going to go ahead and do some more of that over here on this one. Now we really need the consistency. Oops, got some color on there, but that's okay. We need the consistency to be a lot darker so that these guys really stand out, okay? So notice how I'm kind of really going dark. So it's less water, more color on my brush. And kind of just adding some hues, some strokes rather, on these petals here, kind of allowing it to sort of blend in nicely. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of this darker hue that I have here at the top again. So it's going to be a lot of like layering, and that's what gets you that nice contrast, and also keeping it loose with your strokes that you're kind of adding. I'm going to get a little bit of that purple and just add some of that over here. And what I'll do is just kind of shave off some color, because I can see that there's a lot of water pooling happening on this one. And like just shave off some at the top here too. And just dab it on my paper towel. And then I'm just doing like some dryish strokes on this side, shaving off some more down into the flower cup area for this guy. And now going back and getting some darker color, I'm just going to highlight, not highlight, but like give the inside of this a little bit more shape. So it's less water, more color, and I need more of that. And I'm just kind of adding a couple of strokes in here to kind of mimic the center of a rose. I will have a reference image for you guys to refer to, so you can see what I'm kind of trying to achieve. and then you have a reference of like what I'm actually doing here. Perfect, so that's great. I'm not going to do anything else more, just adding a little bit of a couple of touches here and there in this one. Now we're moving on to the next couple of flowers. We're doing the orangey bit. So for the orange one, I'm going to use my number 6 and my number 8. And you know what, maybe I'll just use the quill to kind of just brush on some very loose orange on here. So I'm going to get the Golden Deep that I have, and we're going to right away go ahead and add a couple of, like a stroke right here. And then this flower can be facing upward. And then I'm just lightly adding like the petals that are facing downward. And then I'll do the same thing for a flower down here. But what I'm going to do is just switch out the orange a little bit by adding some cadmium red light to it. So just, oh, and a little bit of white as well. Let's add some white to it so it's a lighter hue. And let's make this more of like a let's see, like a carnation maybe. Now literally I'm just adding a bunch of strokes here, leaving a lot of white space. This is just going to be the base idea for the flower before we go in and add more definition. I'm going to get some more of that orangey hue, and let's do another one. Let's do another one over here on this end. So it's a nice, like a smaller version. Okay. And just getting some of that cadmium red and just adding it sporadically in and around. Just allowing the colors to bleed and just create something pretty. Adding it in the areas where it's touching the other flower, just to kind of indicate shadow, possibly. Alright, perfect. So that's that. I'm moving my brush aside. We're going to go ahead and add some of the darker hues by adding, using the number 6. And you might want to brush off some of the color. So what I would do is just take your brush and just kind of open up this area in the center by wiping off some color. And this way we can go in with a darker hue for the center. And I'm smoothing out the edges here. Same thing over here. I'll like really give it some nice lights and darks. Okay. Fluffing up that area. Okay, perfect. Now we're going in with the, I'm mixing in, I've mixed some of my Titan red with the cadmium red light, and this is what I'm sort of getting. And this is the hue I'm going to be using, or this is the color I'm going to be using. And we're going to go ahead and add some definition into these flowers, okay? So, let's start off with this guy because that's what we did first. And let me just go ahead and add, like how we do our little C strokes in the roses. And I'm just allowing it to kind of just blend in nicely. And then I'm just adding a couple of strokes on these outer petals too, so that it gives us some good shadowy effects. Getting some more of that color. And I allow this, I put in a little bit of that English red as well on the tip of my brush for this stroke here, for these strokes. And then let's do these guys over here. I know I said this was supposed to be more of a carnation. I'm not quite sure if I'll get that. This looks more like a rose to me, so we're gonna run with the rose idea instead. And let's make this rose kind of facing this way. Notice I am not taking away any of the white space, or trying not to at least. And then finally we are just doing this guy here at the bottom. He's just going to be facing downward. I'm just giving him a couple of dabs of color, and then I'll just leave him as is. Fabulous. So now I want to do a couple of like bleeds of color, so something like this, like really having the color just kind of like bleed around. So I'm just finding areas where it's still damp, and I'm kind of smoothing out the color. It's very, very light and faint. And now we're going to go in with some of the green and add some green to our area here. I'll add some of this green using my number 6. We're going to go ahead and just add some nice little stabs of color here and there. So I like this area that is damp here nicely, so I'm going to add some green over there. I'm getting a little bit more green onto my brush so I can get some nice blends or lay of color. Now we don't want to overdo it on the green because we are going to be doing that nice contrast with the sepia, but we still want to have a little bit of green here and there, and so that's why I'm kind of just adding a few strokes of green while this area is still damp. Let's do some over here as well. Time is of the essence, so I'm just literally kind of blending this color in from the cakes itself. And then I'm just going to add some these darker dabs of color in the areas where the flowers are meeting. I'll do one here at the top as well, just so it doesn't look like it kind of just ends. There's no green at the top. So let's do a little bit just here. And then just some peeking out from here. Kind of adding some loose looking strokes here so you kind of have that nice blended look. And let's just also add some happening coming downward. I like the diagonal look for things, so just gonna make it very loose, like watering it down a lot. Just washing off the color on my brush, and I'm just kind of smoothing this color out, blending it into the background almost. Great. I kind of like this whole being stained water look. Get some here as well. Just adding a couple of like loose greeny dots into this water area. Same thing at the top here. This also acts as like a little bit of feathering happening. All right, great. So we've got this done. I want to add more highlights with some of the colors that we have here, but we got to mix them up a little bit. So, you know, I've got some of this orangey purple, pinky purple here. So I'm just going to take this and we're going to go ahead and get some color on here. I'm going to get some more of that pink in it just to get it to be more of this sort of mauve. And I don't want it to be too close to what we have there. So that's why I am thinking about, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get a little bit of white into it as well. Okay. And so now these flowers are going to be just like tiny little strokes. Let's do some here. Tiny little strokes, meaning you're just pressing down your brush and getting some nice color lays on here. Same thing over here on this one, and I'm kind of just feathering, not feathering, but like loosely adding these outlining stroke around it. Let's move it slightly downward so you can see better. Perfect. And then I'm going to add some over here as well. You guessed it, like right into this area where it is still nice and damp. I'm going to get some more of that white mixed in with this mauve. I want to add a couple of dots to kind of really make it look like there's more detail to these flowers, but you're kind of losing it because it's phasing in the background. Some here as well. I'm literally just like pressing down my brush and painting these on. And then just adding a couple of dots or water stains, whatever you want to call them, really. Here and there. Now we're going in directly, and let's go and get some of that. Let's go and get some of the carmine, and I want to add some hues of that carmine, some dots of the carmine into these guys here. So it stands out just a bit. All right, great. So I'm going to put this brush aside. Let's use the script brush. I'm not going to be using it for any script, but I will use it to get some of my olivey green, mix it with some of my umber, and get some loose looking adjoining stems happening here with these flowers. Same thing down here at the bottom. Now the consistency is a bit stronger on the the watercolor side, yeah, the color side, so that we get more of definition happening. I'm going to get some more of that color and just add some strokes in there. And let's see, let's add wherever you can see areas are still damp, just get in a little bit of color, this green in there. At least that's what I'm doing. Oh, we still have that sepia to do, so let's not overdo it on the green. I will add it in this area as well, just because it is sort of open. And let's see, this area too, just a little bit. And get more of that green on here and add a darker hue where it's touching the flower. Right, and I think that's good. Just trying to see if I can get a little bit of blend happening here so that it looks like these leaves are also sort of kind of happening on that side. Okay, perfect. So I think this looks great. We have to do a little bit happening in there so that it doesn't look random and out of the blue. So we've got our sepia leaves coming up, which are gonna look, let's use, I'm gonna use the number 6. Where's the number 6? Right here. And let's get our sepia directly from the color palette. And what we're doing is we're doing these cute little leaves that will sort of maybe look, they're rounded leaves. So let's start off with doing more of a lighter version of this. So I'm mixing some sepia on here. And then let's add like a muted tone so that when it dries up we can go with a second layer and make it look darker. So let's do that right now. Let's see. Okay, let's do some. I think it would be nice to have some, definitely some over here. So let's do it here actually. So I'll do a couple of them kind of coming out from underneath this flower here. Sorry, above this flower. So we'll do our stem. And then pressing down, we're creating these leaves. And they're so dark so that, so like if they kind of overlap, that's okay. If we have some overlapping happening, that's totally fine. Like that's such a pretty contrast. I am excited for this contrast. I'm trying to leave a little bit of white space here and there in these leaves. Let's see if I can actually avail of that. Yeah, there we go. So we've got that. We've got one there. Let's do another one over up here on this end. This one will be a lot smaller. So I'm going to start like the leaf. Maybe it's kind of shaping the flower from the back. And then we've got one more stroke and do another, actually just do the stroke, the leaf stroke that way. And then here's one leaf, smaller one. So something like that. Yeah, I think that's good. We can have it maybe kind of peeking a little bit in here just to kind of add some uniformity. A couple of strokes in there. Okay, why not just make a leaf over here? Why not? Yeah, let's just do that. Fabulous. Love the contrast. So let's do one more. Let's do one more at the bottom. All right, so I just shifted so we could see the bottom a bit better without kind of losing our focus. Here we go. We're just going to add, let's add it kind of facing under here. Okay, let's just do it. We've got one here, let's do one here. So rounded leaves, right? With a little bit of white space. So they're almost like shadows. Maybe this one's like a sideways leaf. That could be one. And like I mentioned, you can go and overlap as well, and that's okay. Adding a bit of overlap over there too. Fabulous, that's great. Okay, so we've got our leaves in there, and I think it's like the perfect amount of light, dark, or bright and dark. And now we can intensify the centers some more, and we can also add a little bit more of these leaves. As I mentioned, like this would be the base, and then we'll do another version of them, not version of them, but like repeat layering them almost. So I'm going to get some more of that, but I want to do it because I feel like it's nice and dark. I don't want to add too much dark to it. I will add just a tad amount of this in certain areas. So for instance, I think I will do one, I'll do one kind of overlapping on this rose here. So dark, dark, dark sepia. And then I'll just do another leaf overlapping on this leaf. Just a tiny guy here with a stem attached to this. And then I'll just do one, because they're both kind of the same height, and I like if one is slightly taller or longer. So I'll just do one leaf here. And then push all the color down to where it attaches there. Okay, so we've done that. Let's do one more. I feel like if we do one more, let's do one shape here. Kind of overlapping, not overlapping, coming from behind this flower. So it looks fuller. And yeah, so what did I say? Yeah, let's do one more overlapping bit happening at the bottom around here. So I'm gonna get some more of that color, and let's just make it happen. Oops. let's make it happen over on this end here. A little bit of thought happening on my end, which is why there are pauses, so I don't want to just make this too heavy and then it doesn't look balanced or it looks super dark. And then we'll just do one kind of peeking this way. So this could be like a side leaf. But I'm not quite liking that shape, so I think I'll just make it like a proper leaf instead. Yeah, so I think this is good, and we'll just do a little bit of splatter with this color. And you guys know how we do splatter, right? So I'm just taking another brush, and we can actually cover this area up, but this part's still damp, so let's just not cover anything up and just aim to do the splatter in the direction we want it in. So here's me adding my splatter of brown sepia in that area. And get some more over here. And then tapering outward. Not tapering outward, but like going outward. So I want it super heavy in this area and then kind of phasing out. That's nice. Let's do a little bit at the top. Get a tad bit of water so we can get some thicker, bigger splatter. And lighter. The key to a good splatter is different shapes and also different variations of color intensities. All right, perfect. There we go. We are done that, and like I promised, we're just going to end off with doing some more detail on the inside of these flowers. Or if you like how they look, where they're super loose and springy looking, then you can totally leave them as is. But I'm just going to quickly go in and add, using the number 6, I'm going to just add some more detail, and then we are done. So getting some of that carmine, I'm going to highlight these areas a little bit more. This was one area too. The little cup that I kind of call it cup, at least. Perfect. You can see how it like pops out really nicely. So I'm going to use that same color and mix it with a tad bit of the violet, and we're just going to add some detail onto this area here. So this flower had more of like these kind of strokes, making it seem like a several layers happening in here. Add a couple more details here. Dipping the tip of my brush in water just to get like a smoother finish at the bottom. So I'm going to do that, and then Again, if it's not quite working out the way mine is turning out, that's okay. Remember, this is a loose rendition of Florals. It really doesn't have to be overly complicated or detailed for that matter. The whole point is that the colors dance together on your sheet of paper and kind of speak for themselves. Okay, so do not fret. And if you are really keen on trying this effect, if you don't get it, then I suggest just take a new sheet of paper and try it again, and you are fine, right? So I'm gonna get some for these guys. I used the cadmium red light and a mixture of English red to get a darker hue for that. And so I got that on here, and we're just going to intensify. The rose. This was supposed to be the Carnation, and it didn't turn out to be a carnation. Sometimes that'll happen. Just gonna add these darker bits for the outer petals here. And then finally on the insides, we're just gonna add a couple of like inner rosy kind of strokes. I have to be watching my screen because it looks, I need to be able to see what the bird's eye view of this looks like. It's not really needed here. And I think that's it. I'm not going to do anything else. Oh, wait, no, I will. I'll just intensify this. Perfect. And that's it. I am not touching another bit of this. I refuse to. I think this is great. You can sign it and date it, and this is our beautiful rendition live painting for March. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Can't wait to see your work. Please tag me as per usual, or just post it in the group. And that's it, guys. Thanks.